All right, all right, all right. Peace, 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 peace. What's going on? What's going on? Give folks a second. Come on down. Come on down. Bam, bam. Let's see this here. Just make sure we up and running. We straight. We gonna get things going. Peace, 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 peace. I hope you're feeling good on this beautiful Sunday. I'm feeling good, feeling great. It's not as warm as I would have liked it, but it's all good. Um, yeah, yeah. Check, 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 check. Yep, we good to go. We good to go. All right. Peace, 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 peace. I'm Rami the Moorish American. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us. It's been a while. I know I've been busy doing some things, but came across this. Well, I watched this podcast anyway, but came across a segment and I said, got to do a video on this. Got to talk about it. Want to shout out the Viral Way podcast. Them brothers is doing some good things over there. Matter of fact, let's put that up on the screen for a second so folks can tap in. Let's see how we do. We're gonna go ahead and present. We're gonna connect that screen. You feel me? Bam. So let's go ahead and let me showcase what we're gonna be talking about. Bam. There we go. Boom. Viral Way podcast. Shout out to them brothers doing some amazing things. A dynamic podcast. Let's see, a dynamic podcast, discussions on music, politics, relationships, and the latest happenings in the world all around us. Whether you're into hard-hitting debates or trending stories, we're all about keeping it real, raw, and uncut. I like them peoples over there, man. Tap in, subscribe, you know what I mean? Get that notification bell so you get it going. So these brothers, I'm gonna drop this for a second. Those brothers, they did a podcast a couple of days ago and was speaking about Black identity. And then one of the brothers dropped a couple things and mentioned the Moors. And I said, okay, really, now I'm tuned in for real. Unfortunately, some of the things that they were speaking about, I've heard before. And in particular, some of it was, the more sovereign citizen scams, Taj Street Bay and the crew. Those brothers, peace to y'all. Y'all may not be familiar. I've been doing this for since 2011, 12-ish, deep in this information. And I once too had similar views as some that was expressed. Then I started digging deeper, started finding out, this folks scamming. He a fraud. He a liar. He just about the money. They just want the donations, and so I wanted to come to y'all and speak real quick just to give you some context and a perspective with y'all getting into this information so y'all don't get led astray, because y'all some solid brothers, and really and truthfully we need our people like the brothers from the Viral Way podcast to be up on this information because it's important, and the people that really need to hear it haven't heard it or don't understand or comprehend it fully. And those brothers, I feel, are wise enough to sift through the nonsense and the scammers and see it for what it really is. But let me stop talking and instead, let's see. Oh, wait 1 second. Let me pop this up on the screen. We already got him queued up. Today. There we go. So we're gonna be checking out this segment real quick. It's at the 56 minute mark if you want to follow along. Yeah. episode 153. Let's check it out.
So enough with the celebrity talk. Let's get back in our bag, man. Let's get back in our high power bag. We ain't had no high power topics for a minute. We've been floating with this celebrity stuff going on. You got the rap battles going on. You got this case going on. You got this celebrity getting arrested. So it's a lot to keep the people updated because I know people love celebrity talk. But let's just talk real for a second.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of race debates going on. It's been a lot of reparations talk going on. It's been a lot of police shootings of unarmed Black people going on. And it's got me to thinking, should we stop identifying as Black? Because now if I butcher this pronunciation, excuse me, civilter mortis, that is Latin for civil death, AKA meaning the loss of all or almost all civil rights by a person due to a conviction for a felony due to an act or right by the government. Basically, you lose your rights, right? So under civil mortis, whatever, however you pronounce.
Yeah, just so you know, civiliter mortus. You know what I mean? I done been there, civilly dead in the eyes of the law. We know what it is. If you are Moorish American, true Moorish American, you've heard that term. Most of the time, you can trace it back to Taj Street Bay. Just keeping it real, elder. So I try do my best not to be disrespectful, but he been scamming and lying for about 40 years now, just so you understand. Let me get it going.
Pronounce it. If you look in the Black Laws Dictionary, Black means dead. So you'll see a lot of these conspiracy videos floating around TikTok or whatever, and they'll try to suppress them, but under certain language, that like the language that the powers to be use, Black literally means dead. Like you're not a real person. So that would explain how the police is always getting off of doing what they're doing to the unarmed Black citizens, right? You're not even considered a real person. Then if you want to go back and take it to when we were considered less than human, right? It's always less than human. We were 1/3 of a man, like not even a full person. They didn't even count us as real people. So by us still identifying as Black, we're literally saying we're not even real people in a sense.
I mean, you remember the beginning of Malcolm X, right? When they're in the jail, and then the Muslim dude shows him what Black reads in the dictionary, and how it's like destitute of light, bad, evil. There's multiple things that are tied into what Black is in the dictionary that enforces that negative connotation of us.
I'm gonna pause it right there real quick. Just wanted to show this so you understand. Yeah, boom. You talking about the Black's Law Dictionary? Yeah. 4th edition. Yeah, I done been there. Yeah, let me show you. I got this one on deck. This just on the table. Got this one too. American Dictionary of the English Language. Noah Webster, 1828. You should look up American in here. Very interesting. You can pull it up online. That's neither here nor there. I just wanted to, again, clarify. Let me bring this back down. Again, clarify. Some of the information, some of the terms that have been used, like civiliter mortus, that is a real term. That is a fact. The problem is that these scammers, these more scammers and con men and and charlatans, they use little morsels of truth and then mix in all the BS. You know what I mean? And have people donating, oh, you got to pay this for the paperwork and you got to pay this for the seminar and this lecture and this lesson. And then after you paid enough and you bought all the books, let me see. Look, man, look. Little pen. Let me zoom in so you can see. Yeah. RV Bay Publications. Yes, I done been there. Yeah, like everybody that's been into this. I just am the one that said, nah, this is bogus. But let me get back to it. Let me not lose focus. Let's get back to it. Because the brother was bringing up Malcolm, a very important part real quick.
I think we're at a point in time, though, where like,
you may think that an adult that can't stop watching the P word looks something.
My fault, y'all. Whoa, hey. All right.
I could never stop identifying as Black.
Oh, right there.
I could never be.
Let me rewind that. I appreciate this brother's comment. That's where we're gonna get started. Here we go.
X, right? When they're in the jail, and then the Muslim dude shows him what black reads in the dictionary, and how it's like destitute of light, bad, evil. There's multiple things that are tied into what black is in the dictionary that enforces that negative connotation of us. I think we're at a point in time though where like I could never stop identifying as black.
Wow.
I could never, because for one, it's who we've been our whole life. Ups and downs, bumps and bruises, good times and bad times, right? Like our culture is not.
All right, I'm gonna just stop it right there because I appreciate the brother's perspective. Oops, let's see how we get that up out of there. Boom. Appreciate the brother's perspective. The brother said, I could never stop identifying as black because it's who we've been our entire life. And I understand that mentality. Wanted to pose this to the good brothers. It's some of us that identify as black. It's some of us that identify as African American. It's some that identify as colored. Some that identify as Negro, Black American, foundational Black American, American descendant of slaves. It's some people that identify as Afro American. It's some people that just identify as nigga. My point in saying that, some people say I'm melanated. You know what I mean? My point in saying is that we actually haven't been called black our entire life. In fact, James Brown, say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. That was to help encourage us to use that new term. Jesse Jackson, he introduced the African American term, I think in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. So we haven't been called these terms our entire life. In fact, the identity of our people has been shifting and changing throughout our lives and our parents' lives and our parents' parents' lives. And it's all by design, you know. So I just wanted to put that and get you to think about that we actually haven't, just as a matter of fact, we haven't been called black our entire lives. And even if we were, that doesn't make it okay, because at some point, if we go back in history, our descendants, our ancestors were called slaves their entire lives. Should that mean we now call ourselves slaves because that's what they've been called? Nah, good brother. We were something before that. But let me continue real quick.
Only the negatives, it's the positives. I think we have to focus more on the positives and try to reinforce that more and be more of a positive outlook. I think that, yeah, I just don't see myself, because then what would we call ourselves?
That's right. Okay, boom. Beautiful question. What would we call ourselves? Before I get to that, let me switch over here real quick. I appreciate that, brother, man. Some great questions, great perspective. Let's see here. I forgot to bring it back up on the screen, my fault. Bam. There we go. You was mentioning Brother Malcolm, right? Let's hear what Brother Malcolm said, good brother.
Don't talk that old equality talk. Who are you? You don't know. Don't tell me Negro. That's nothing. What were you before the white man named you a Negro? And where were you? And what did you have? What was yours? What language did you speak then? What was your name? It couldn't have been Smith or Jones or Bunch or Powell. That wasn't your name. They don't have those kind of names where you and I came from. No, what was your name? And why don't you now know what your name was then?
Come on, good brother Malcolm. Come on, good brother Malcolm. Hold on one second, man. What's up, man? What's up? Yeah, man, take the piece out, man. Yeah, all that noise, man, all the extras, man. Yeah, interrupting the class. Yeah. I'm just messing with you, dog. Where was I at? Thank you. Appreciate it. As the good brother Malcolm was saying, what were you called before you was called a Negro? What were we called before we were called black? Because we had a name, we had an identity, and it wasn't colored and it wasn't Negro. That's the important part that we got to understand. Before we were enslaved, we had an identity. The identities that we carry now, and this is what the brother. Matter of fact, let me stop talking. Let's continue. Let's hear the brothers talk some more. Let me get up off me and let's hear them talk. Bring this back up, because the other brother he comes in with a good perspective, and I appreciated that.
Just people.
But we're gonna get back to what will we call ourselves? What should we call ourselves?
But that's what this is where the debates of your history comes in, because if you don't even know who you were or who we were in the beginning, we're given a different label, and that label has a certain meaning in the law, which gives you the treatment that you're getting from the law. So like, let's say if you were a Moor, right? You're not under this United States corporation jurisdiction. Like when they go to court, they rep themselves, they under a whole different law. They ain't got to ride around with licenses, like all the shit that we got to follow. They're like emancipated from all of that. So that's why
that's right there. That's when I said, man, I got to do the video, because I understand it, good brother. I understand your perspective, but just know that mentality, that aspect of it, that's the scam. That's the lie. The truth is that our identity, if our claiming ourselves to be Moors or Moorish American, doesn't make us exempt from the laws. It's a real long discussion. I'm gonna just to make it concise for right now. That's bogus. And the person that brought us this information, Noble Drew Ali, way back in 1913 or 1925, depending upon what date you want to go by. But he was the first one in Chicago that came and teach Black people or Negroes at that time our true identity and our true history and who we really are. He never once said that. He never was on that. In fact, he was actually speaking the exact opposite, that by us claiming our true identity as Moorish Americans, we can be treated as American citizens like every other person in this country. The trick right now is thinking that, oh, we're going to get out of something. The reality is we're outside of law calling ourselves Blacks and Negroes and African Americans. Right now, we are not following the law. You know what I mean? I don't even want to get into all that. My point is that idea that calling yourself a Moor or Moorish American or anything connected, or American Moor, anything like that, makes you exempt or free from any sort of jurisdiction or laws, any of that talk, all bogus. How do I know? I've been doing this for over 10 years now. And I challenge you. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? Pull up the paperwork. Can you find proof, documentation, evidence that any of that kind of stuff ever works? You can't. In fact, I challenge you, all three of them brothers, anybody from the Viral podcast, challenge you. If you can find a court case of Taj Tariq Bey winning using Moorish, blah, 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 any sort of rhetoric or ideology, anything like that, if you can show him winning in court anywhere in this country, $100 for each person. You know what I mean? My word is my bond. I guarantee you won't be able to find it. I guarantee you. But the offer stands. You know what I mean? My point being is that, and I hope that it's coming across, just don't buy into the nonsense. There was a man named Noble Drew Ali who created the Moorish Science Temple of America, a whole organization. He had structure, rules, principles, everything set up to help us get back on our feet and do for ourselves. After he passed, niggas started doing nigga. You know what I mean? And excuse my language, but it's just the reality. And corrupted the movement, corrupted the organization. People spent off and started doing their own thing, using some of his information and then mixing it in with their own to make scams. Taj Tariq Bey, Sabir Bey, You got this fake black person, he's from the islands up in Canada. He's I mean, the scams is endless. The truth is that this Moorish information is real and right and exact, but there's a lot of scams and a lot of liars out there. So I don't want y'all to get mixed up with that. But let me get back to this video because there's some more things that I wanted to speak on real quick. Let's get back to it.
Key to know your history and your lineage and actually who you are. And this is why we're in the battle. Are we FBA? Are we ADOS? Are we the Moors? Are we the real Jews? It's a reason our history is being suppressed, because with who you are, not only gives you right to the land that was stolen from you, that's key. You also become exempt from these bullshit laws that was made to go against you, because by identifying as what we identify now, we're subject to being victims in that law, because you're not even a real person at that point.
But you're not saying that.
I don't think really like you said, it's not gonna really change. Regardless if you woke up today and said I'm something else or I'm just this race, or if I'm looking past that, other people are still gonna identify you as black. They're gonna look at you crazy, like, what is you talking about? So, and most of our people ain't gonna change that. They're not gonna go deep down and try to dive into something and recreate who we are. And who's to say who made up and say black is what's good and what ain't? Because
the law dictionary.
I know this is what I'm saying though, but
I will interject and not even say the law dictionary, but words. Etymology is the science that teaches you the history and the meaning of words. Words have meaning. They have a denotation, the original meaning of words. Black, man, not even getting into the meaning of the word, but black itself is an adjective. It describes something. Black is not a noun. So it can't be the person, place, the thing. This is basic grammar right there. You know what I mean? Yes, have we tried to make black into something positive? I get all of that. But at the end of the day, though, the fact is, black is not our identity. It's not who we truly are. And so-called white people are not white. That's disrespectful to their history and their culture. The same as brown or red or yellow. Calling people by colors doesn't make sense. We actually have identities and lineage and history and culture that we're all connected to. But let me continue.
But if everything was created by one source, everything is still good or bad how you identify it. Just because I see this camera is black don't mean I'm gonna say it's bad. And even the things that they taught us about black cats, they try to tell you that that's bad luck. But black cats are, in a sense, are some of the best cats.
Every week, I get hours back while working less.
So it's a lot of things that, like you said, of knowing your history and understanding where you come from and what things are. I just think the trajectory of us as a people have to move at a higher standard to be viewed a certain way. People are always going to look at us how they do because they know us, how powerful we are deep down of who we are, what our melanin represent, who we are, and the things we have to overcome. I don't think nobody else can be as resilient and strong and strength as we have been throughout years. They've been doing everything to make us extinct, and we're still here. So is black really bad in a sense?
Yeah, but see, the only reason I'm taking this towards the law, because we could feel however we feel and not care about how other people view us, but under the pretense of the law, by you identifying as black, that's civilly dead in the eyes of the law. So in the eyes of the law, you basically don't have real rights. It's like when we do the census, it literally says black. So by you self-identifying, that's almost in the sense of you giving your rights away in the eyes of the law. This is why the Moors and shit, they're so dead set on, hey, bro, you need to really learn your history and what you identifying as, because now you get different treatment under the law.
But there's no more on the census though, is there? In America?
That's all I'm saying.
No. Great question, bruh. Respect to the whole crew. Very valid question. There's no more on the census. Fact, there is no more on the census. However, if millions of us identified ourselves as Moorish American, which is what Noble Drew Ali told us to, just understand it. If millions of us put that on our form, they would have to acknowledge. They can't say, well, you're not that. How you gonna tell me what just the way the same as we choose to identify as black, or we've chosen to identify as Negro, we've chosen to identify as African American. But that's not necessarily who we are. Just because that was pushed to us doesn't mean we have to accept it. And if we organized ourselves, as Noble Drew Ali was asking us to do, and be a part of all of our civic duties and the affairs of this country, we could have said, no, we need to correct that. We need to make that change. Matter of fact, let me keep going with this, but it's something that I'm gonna pull up for you to validate what I'm saying. Current, actually.
Even if you fill out an application, it's not gonna say more. It's not gonna say none of this other stuff. Even when I fill out job applications, sometimes I put other or something else just to see, because I know if you put black, you automatically gonna be looked at a certain way. That's real shit. But what I'm saying is, regardless of what you saying, all the law and all this other stuff, the law is gonna look at you like you're black, and they're gonna still treat you accordingly. It's not gonna matter about the text of the law. People are still gonna view you.
Good brother. I gotta interject. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut your wisdom, but that is incorrect. Let me show you. Let me show you some real quick, good brother. Right there. Now, this is quite some time ago, but it honestly provides some good context, because this was even further back at a time when, you know what I mean, the slavery stuff, you know what I mean, was still fresh out there. The Moorish Sundry Act. Come on, bro. You spilling all this stuff. Bro. You interrupting, bro. You interrupting. My son interrupting. My apologies, man. Come on, man. Hurry up, man. Stop making the noise, man. Apologies, y'all. Gotta be a dad, too. Anyways, the Moorish Sundry Act of 1790 granted petition ordered by South Carolina House of Representatives, clarifying the status of free subjects of the Sultan of Morocco. The resolution offered the opinion that free citizens of Morocco were not subject to laws governing blacks and slaves. So basically what happened, these four brothers, these Moors, Francis, Daniel, Hammond, and Samuel, petitioned through the law for themselves and their wives, Fatima, Flora, Sarah, and Clorinda, and explained, well, hey, check this out. We from Morocco. We got ties to Morocco. If you want to charge for a crime, don't charge us under those slave laws and those black laws. Charge us properly as citizens. You know what I mean? Or under, they break it down. I don't even want to get into it. But my point, to the details, you can check it out. My point is that contrary to popular belief, it does matter. We will be viewed in a different light. Now, it's not in the same light that you may hear on the TikTok and some of these scammers saying, oh, man, you exempt and you can get a house and you ain't got to pay for this and that. It's not that. But we wouldn't be subject under the black codes and under some of the treatment and the discrimination that we get as we're being identified as blacks. I hope that makes some sense. Let me continue a little bit more.
The way they choose to see you, and the Caucasians or whoever else are still going to view you as less than them. The same way we talk about when you get jobs and getting these spaces around people, you can have an executive like Diddy versus another music.
Let me pull this up too. This was the other one I wanted to show you real quick. You can pull this up too, good brother. This is from the Huffington Post. Before he was president, Abraham Lincoln and the man who refused to be called Negro. All right. It's Abraham Lincoln when he was a attorney. You know what I mean? My client is not a Negro, though it is a crime to be a Negro. Quote, Abraham Lincoln. So in 1855, Joseph was feuding with his sister's husband, William. And is often the case with family feuds, things took an ugly turn when Spencer accused his brother-in-law of being a quote-unquote Negro, okay? Even today, some non-U.S. born people consider it an offense to be mistaken for a Black American. We ain't gonna get into all of that. Here we going back down. In 1855, if believed by local officials, an accusation of being called Negro would have resulted in the loss of his marriage, property, and his right to continue to live in the state of Illinois. Just 2 years earlier, the Illinois legislature passed the Black Codes, following a directive of the 1848 state constitution. To pass such laws as will effectively prohibit free persons of color from immigrating to and settling in this state. All right, so that's what was going on around that time. Abraham Lincoln was representing Dungy, right? To respond to his brother calling him a Negro. And down here, this is the quote. My client is not a Negro, though it is a crime to be a Negro. No crime to be born with black skin, but my client is not a Negro. See the distinction, black skin between Negro? His skin may not be as white as ours, but I say he is not a Negro, though he may be a Moor. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. What we talking about? This Abraham Lincoln. This Abraham Lincoln now defending his client who was alleged, oh, that's a Negro. And he's saying, hey, man, he may have darker skin than us white people, but he is not a Negro. I dare say he's a Moor. Oh, my goodness. Come on, man. You can't make this up. I'm not making this up. Look it up for yourself. Don't believe me. But again, in me saying this, don't get it twisted thinking or believe in those liars that say, oh, well, as soon as you call yourself a Moor, you ain't got to follow the law. You can do it. Matter of fact, y'all look it up, Rise of the Moors. Look up Rise of the Moors. You'll see all the news coverage. They was in Massachusetts some years ago, got hemmed up on the highway. They was carrying all sorts of weapons and firearms illegally, didn't have the registration, etc. I warned them people and all other Moors before it happened. I said, man, they tripping. Don't follow them. They gonna get you caught up. They was calling me an agent and a sellout and all of this stuff. And then you can see what happened for yourself. My point is that that's an example of people who believe the lies and the scams and this idea that, oh, if you'll call yourself a Moor, you don't have to follow the law. That's not what this is about. Let me go ahead and finish up here. We almost done. Let me pull this back up. Bam. Uh-oh. Hold on a second. Oh, yeah. Oh, my fault. My fault, y'all. Bam. There you go.
Or the Jew or something else. Any light you get in the police force, they're still going to look at you as an outcast. It does not matter to that extent.
See, I don't care about being viewed. I'm saying legality. So by you having history tied to certain things under the pretense of the law, we would be legally.
Man.
Heard about Boxable?
Come on, dog.
See that?
Hey, commercials killing me. I had to get that premium. Let me rewind just a little bit.
Light you get in the police force, they're still going to look at you as an outcast. It does not matter to that extent.
See, I don't care about being viewed. I'm saying legality. So by you having history tied to certain things under the pretense of the law, we would be legally owed a lot of things. Like, let's say reparations and shit like that. Once you can prove, okay, this was low key, really our land. They really stole it, because we know they did, but they're still not admitting to it.
Okay, so under legality,
that's what I'm on. I'm not on personal viewership, because you can feel however you want to feel. But under the law that our nation is ran under, once you become identified as certain things, you're protected differently under the law. It's the same way the Jews are protected differently under the law, but they don't want you to call yourself a real Jew. You'll get Kyrie. Why? because it's power being identified as a Jew. Why? Because that shit go back biblical. Like y'all damn near God's people. So identification matters.
So what
They trick us into not thinking it does. That shit does matter. It's a reason everybody else knows their lineage and they have power here. They got connections back to their homeland that ties in here. We're the only ones disenfranchised.
Are we the real Jews?
And that's a whole nother that's a whole nother rabbit hole we can go down. I'm not really focused on that. We can have that conversation.
Word.
But that's a whole nother conversation. All I will say is
True.
you go back in the Bible anywhere, you go back to the earliest evidence of the depiction of humans, they're black.
So what should we identify as?
That's the question.
That's the question right there. What should we identify as? Now, here's do this real quick. Now, this part is more so my opinion. Some of the stuff I was saying is more based on, factual information and evidence. What should we call ourselves? What should we identify as? Me personally, I feel that we should identify ourselves as Moorish American. Why? Was this man named Noble Drew Ali who came with all of this information about and connecting us back to our Moorish ancestry. And to clarify, Moorish American is a nationality. So I think at the core, we need to identify ourselves by a nationality. Now, which nationality you choose, that's on you. I say look into your family history. You may have some connections and links to a nation that you didn't even realize, or a country, maybe to the islands, maybe, to a country in West Africa. I don't know exactly, but I know for myself, what I would say is I encourage so-called Black people, so-called Negroes, colors, African Americans to identify as Moorish American. Noble Drew Ali kind of lays all of that out. I don't want to get into all the specifics, but whatever the case, not saying you have to, but identify as some sort of nationality. Whatever nationality that is, it's better than identifying as a Black, a Negro, a colored, an African American, a Black American. And for context, if you look around and get some perspective, ask some of your peoples what their national, people that aren't Black, obviously, but ask them, what's your nationality? Just ask them. Guarantee you they'll say Mexican, Guatemalan, Honduran, Polish, German, whatever their nationality is, they understand that and they claim that. And this is for most people around the world. Most people I run into, the only people for the most part that I see that don't know their nationality are so-called Black people, Negroes, African Americans, people of color, colored, Black Americans, etc. And that's the problem. That's why we are disenfranchised. We don't have a flag. We don't have a banner that we all fall under. And so folks is just doing whatever they can, trying to figure it out. And we say we, and we're talking about us as a people, but there's no banner for us to all come under and agree, yeah, this is we. Because when I say we, and I'm talking about Black people, I may be speaking about us, but when someone else hears, they like, well, I'm not Black. I don't consider myself as a part of that. I'm African American. Some people's like, well, I don't even identify as African. I'm just American. You know what I mean? Then you got the group of our people that identify as indigenous or Native American. That's a whole other bag I don't want to get into. But if that's what you want to identify is, I say go for it. But at the core of it, we have to stop identifying ourselves by these slave labels that were placed on us: Negro, Black, and colored. That's a real problem. The census. Oh, I wanted to pull up something real quick for you. And I'm trying to get the actual list because they actually changed. They just updated it. And now I can't find the actual breakdown, which is kind of a trip. So just hold on. Matter of fact, I'll play this while I finish up. Here we go. Last little bit.
That's why our hit.
Well, so
There's a lot of shit in the Vatican.
Mhm.
There's a lot of shit in Britain in the museums that they took from the motherland that talks about our history, including the first recorded Bible that we don't have access to. And it's like, why don't we have access to that? What information is in there that we can't have access to, but you got? And you started using the shit that the people who did know about that info is like, hey, bro, you know they got this, boom, 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 boom. Oh, that's a conspiracy theory. But then you start to see them using that shit. Like they told you voodoo is bad, it's this and that. But then low key, they doing that shit.
I would have to see what would change for us depending on what we change our name to, what we identify as, right? But that's something I'm not informed enough on. But I don't know. That sounds. I'm not saying I find it hard to believe.
It sounds too simple because even if,
Yeah, like because look at for instance.
It do sound too simple, but it is that simple. You know what I mean? It really is that simple. Let me show you this real quick. So first, let me pull up this here. Boom, then I'm gonna get up out of here. I told my son I'll be on here about 45 minutes. So I'm at the 40 minute mark. So this is right here, OMB Statistical Policy Directive 15 on race and ethnicity data standards. The U.S. Office of Management and Budget Statistical Policy Directive number 15, standards for maintaining, collecting, and presenting federal data on race and ethnicity. And this is speaking about how they updated this. And where does it say? In 2024, right? Revisions to the SPD 15 were published. But I don't want to get into that. I wanted to highlight, and then also, it's not even a point. Well, I will say that this was going on for some years now, almost 2 years, I guess. And they had town halls and meetings to get comments and feedback on this. Did any of us know about, you know what I mean? No, I won't say any of us, like, I'm pretty sure some people know, but did you guys know about this at all? Federal Directive number 15, that they were updating the race and ethnic standards for federal statistics and administrative reporting. Were you guys aware of that? Most Black people that I know were not, right? Why is this important? Let me show you what this actually is. Let me zoom in. All right, this is the Office of Management, and I'll drop the link in here, matter of fact, so you can pull it up yourself. Bam. All right. Let me zoom out. This directive provides standard classifications for record keeping, collection, and presentation of data on race and ethnicity in federal program administrative reporting and statistical activities. These classifications should not be interpreted as being scientific or anthropological in nature, nor should they be viewed as determinants of eligibility for participation in any federal program. They have been developed in response to a needs expressed by both the executive branch and the Congress to provide for the collection and use of compatible, non-duplicated, exchangeable racial and ethnic data by federal agencies. And I want to highlight, when we talk about picking something on a form, can y'all see that? Let me form right there. And I'm going to drop myself off the screen too. Try to get this as large as possible. Bam. All right. Boom. We talk about race and selecting something on the form. I want y'all to look right there. We got five categories you can choose: American Indian or Alaskan Native, Asian or Pacific Islander, Black, Hispanic, white. Start from the bottom. I'm gonna do everyone, and I'm gonna do black last. Let's see if we hear a difference. A white person. White is a person having origins in any of the original peoples of Europe, North Africa, or the Middle East. So a white person could be from North Africa. Understand that? If you check white on these forms in the US, you could just be declaring that you're from North Africa. But when we hear white, we think European people, right? Interesting. Hispanic. Hispanic. A person of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Central or South American or Spanish culture or origin, regardless of race. Asian or Pacific Islander. A person having origins in any of the original peoples of the Far East, Southeast Asia, the Indian subcontinent, or the Pacific Islands. American Indian or Alaska Native. A person having origins in any of the original peoples of North America, who maintains a cultural identification through tribal affiliation or community recognition. Black. A person having origins in any of the Black racial groups of Africa. I got a question for y'all, good brothers, and everybody watching. So with white, it's a person having origins in any of the original peoples. Hispanic, a person of Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban, Central or South American or Spanish culture or origin. Okay, we're identifying nations and countries. Asian and Pacific Islander, a person having origins in any of the original peoples, okay, again, of these certain areas. American Indian, a person having origins in any of the original peoples of North America. So this is connecting these names and these identities are connected to the original peoples or peoples of a particular country or land. With black, though, let me zoom this in so we can see just like super clear. Let's see that. With black, can y'all see that? Bam. A person having origins in any of the Black racial groups. Why is it that all these other ones are connected to original peoples? Hispanic is connected to Mexican, Puerto Rican, Cuban. These are people. But Black is connected to a Black racial group. What is a Black racial group? And it's of Africa. Africa is an entire continent. We don't have no idea what country. Not Western Africa, not North Africa, not South Africa, not East Africa, just racial groups of Africa. This is the scam. This is the okie doke. This is how we've been bamboozled. You know, and I wanted to show you that. I want you to look it up for yourself. Don't believe me. Don't believe it. But these identities, I also wanted to show you that the race and ethnicity standards is being updated. It's being changed right now. Why aren't we a part of it? How do we get a part of it? How do we make our voices known? Who determined that definition for Black in the first place? That's a good question. What does Black racial groups mean? Does anybody know? These are some things that we could do if we were organized properly. And this is how Moors, closing it up, this is how Moors have failed Black people, have failed so-called Black people, so-called Negroes, so-called people of color, African Americans. Moors have failed us because as Moorish Americans, as people that have this knowledge, we should have been organized better. We should have been teaching our own people better. We should have been updated and made changes so that Moorish American or Moor was on the census and was on all of these applications and forms and anything we got to fill out and identify ourselves as. So that's an option for us. Ain't nobody else going to do it for us. It's not anybody's job or responsibility either, especially if we saying, now we're our own people. We not slaves, right? and we fail. You know what I mean? Moorish Americans, especially the people that claim to be following or honoring Noble Drew Ali, claim to be about the Moorish Science Temple of America, claim to be about uplifting fallen humanity and Black people. We have failed because all of this should have long been done. And brothers like the brothers from the Viral Way podcast, they would have never had that segment because the answers would have already been clear decades ago. Noble Drew Ali passed in 1929. It's almost been 100 years. We got no excuses. But yeah, that's all the notes that I had. Yeah, I feel like I addressed what I needed to address there. But shout out to the Viral Way podcast. Again, tap in with them. Watch the whole segment. That episode was episode 153, Black People's True Identity. Jim Jones versus Style P, Rod Wave Crash, Tory Lanez. Check that out. The Viral Way podcast again. Closing. Oh, the questions. Apologies. I wanted to get these questions. I'm a little bit past the 45 minutes, but I wanted to get these questions before I get up out of here. Let me scroll to the top. Let's see what we got. What's up? Yeah. Right, yeah. Just to be clear, I got love for all my people from the islands, all my people from Africa. But there is a concerted effort to. I don't even want to get into that. But I feel that comment. Questions. I disagree with that, Butcher Bird. I'm almost certain. There you go. Bam. I knew I wasn't tripping. Yeah. I appreciate your perspective. Okay, this is from the Atlanta Tribune. I'm gonna pull this up real quick and get up out of here. Atlanta Tribune. Bang bang. Oh dang. I was gonna try to show you this New York Times article, but they're asking, you gotta pay, so we cool on that. This will get the job done. Atlanta Tribune, May 9th, 2022. In 1988, Reverend Jesse Jackson urged Black Americans to drop the adjective Black and replace it with African. Jackson argued that Black no longer described our situation in America. The term African American was used for decades. Then Jesse Jackson fell from grace, and his invented term fell out of favor. All right. So that is where the term came from. It may have been. Uh-oh. Can y'all hear me? Check. Can y'all hear me? Test. Okay, we good. Let me close this. Appreciate that. Dre Sean 3K, Islam, thank you for continuously clearing up the misunderstanding and blatant misleading of Moors. They give us a bad name. True indeed. Bam. Once Taj came along, all the BS and fraudulent activity kicked in. Come on now. Come on now. I don't know what a Moorish American is and why we would want to be called that. A Moorish American is a descendant of a descendant of a Moroccan and born in America. So-called black people. And why we want to be called that, it links us back to our history and our heritage. Moors and Moorish history is known all over the world. Amazing accomplishments, and not just a history that starts from slavery. So that's why I feel we should call ourselves that. And it's our identity. That's how I feel. Yeah. Okay. All right. I hear you on that. Think we about closed. I think we about done. Yeah. Isn't that update from the 70s? From the ethnic standards, they updated it. I think 2022 and 2024, something like that. But before that, yeah, it was from the 70s. So I think I'm just about done here. I appreciate y'all tapping in, tuning in. In closing, to share this for the brother that was speaking about reparations. Check out this book. It's called Unspeakable Truths, Transitional Justice and the Challenge of Truth Commissions. Priscilla B. Hayner, forward by Kofi Annan. Powerful book that you want to check out in terms of thinking about some solutions for our people. I know y'all some intelligent brothers, so y'all will tap in to information. Trying to see if I have any other books right here. The last thing I want to read real quick, this is the Quran Circle 7. They got a free one that you can read online. You know what I mean? Mine, as you can see, I done took a whole lot of notes and such, but I wanted to read something, especially for the brother in the middle, good brother. Well, all the brothers, actually. Let me not even just say that. All the brothers, this information I think y'all connect with. And it says, boom. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the holy land of Canaan. Ooh-wee. And then a little bit further in this chapter, through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honor not the creed and principles of their forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America who were Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and strayed after the gods of Europe, whom they knew nothing of. So that's that on that. Appreciate y'all listening and staying tuned for the build. Oh, man, last question. I appreciate that question. Hold on. I just seen that at the last second. If you're North African Moroccan, are you white? That's a good question. According to Federal Directive number 15 on race and ethnic standards, you would have to classify yourself as white. Matter of fact, look up while we go, before I go, Mustafa Hefni. I think that's how you spell it. Is it Mustafa? It's either Mustafa or Mustafa Hefni. But if you look that up, that is a brother that's from Egypt, this, somewhat dark skinned from Egypt, came to the US. This is some years ago, several decades ago, came to the US, and he was classified as white. And he was arguing like, nah, I want to be considered black like my people. I'm from Egypt and I connect with my people. And they was like, no, he even went to court about this. Like, no, you have to identify as white because the definition white, we talking about North Africa, and it also says Middle East, connected to the original peoples of people from Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. So that's just some information for you to take with you. Study Noble Drew Ali if you're interested in Moorish information and the whole Moorish perspective. Study Noble Drew Ali first and foremost, and then use that to judge any of this other information that you get. Not to worship Noble Drew Ali, it's just he was the first person that came through with this information. A lot of the people today are frauds, scammers, and you just got to be careful. Yeah, I'm done. Peace and love. Y'all have a great one. All right, peace. Oh, and if you got questions and you watching after the live, drop them in the comment section. We can build. All right, peace for real.